Lone Star Community Radio presents the Lone Star Radio Hour. For the next hour, you will hear locally produced radio plays from different groups around Montgomery County. If you're interested in the Lone Star Radio Hour and you want us to run one of your programs that you produced, just contact us at lscrstudios at gmail.com. If you are interested in recording your own show here at the studio, you can just contact us. And we're also looking for sponsorships for this time slot. So, again, just contact us at lscrstudios at gmail.com. You can also visit the Lone Star Radio Hour online at irlonestar.com/LSRH. That's irlonestar.com/LSRH. For all the plays on on-demand format. The following radio play you're about to hear is produced by the Players Theater Company in Conroe, Texas. For more information on the Players, check them out online at www.owentheater.com/players.
Live from the Owen Theater, located in the glittering arts and entertainment district in downtown Conroe, Texas, comes the Players Theater Company Old Time Radio Hour. This is Timothy Eggert, filling in for Dennis Nelson on this, our season finale. Tonight, we present a double feature from radio's golden age, Suspense. The series ran for 2 chilling decades, from 1942 to 1962, and in its earliest seasons was hosted by the mysterious Man in Black, who will join us here tonight. We're ready to recreate that spirit of radio's outstanding theater of thrills, but before we start, let's introduce our gifted cast of new voices and familiar players. Starring tonight as both Alec Rice and Inspector Mullen is the fantastic Bob Galley. You will hear the dulcet tones of the outstanding Kim Graham as Mrs. Tilford. The talented Thomas Diener joins us as the radio reporter and his ballyhoo. Exceptional Eric Watts returns tonight as the police sergeant and as the newspaper man. 2 crucial roles so important they shall not be named.
Well, it's a tough job, but somebody has to do it.
Quite so. Now get back to your seat, Mr. No-Name Police Newspaper Sergeant Man.
Why do I continue to bring my shame upon myself?
This evening, debonair Jeff Evans makes a deadly wager as this sinister John Destry. Finally, starring tonight, is the versatile Kelly Strang as Mr. Thompson and as Bob Pendrell. With the incomparable Brianna Booth as both Betty Andrews and Isabel Towns. And now, without further ado, Suspense. This is the Man in Black, here to introduce our program, Suspense. Tonight we present a study in terror called A Little Piece of Rope. As always, suspense is compounded of mystery and suspicion and dangerous adventure. In this series are tales calculated to intrigue you, to stir your nerves, to offer you a precarious situation and then withhold the resolution until the last possible moment. And so with a little piece of rope, we again hope to keep you in suspense.
They said I'd never make it good here in Hollywood. Everywhere I went was the same story. Sure, they'd see me, but the minute they took a look at my baby face, all I'd get was advice and excuses. No job. My last try was for a schoolgirl part. I was too baby-faced even to get that role. I walked home, still wearing the school uniform I'd bought to help me get the part, when I got an idea. Then I remembered another thing. It was years ago, reading an old copy of a police gazette in Grandpa's attic, printed about 1880, I guess. With their falsely youthful faces, dressed as innocent schoolgirls, These vicious females haunt the vicinity of select young lady seminaries, and with their airs of artless girlhood, they entice and trap unwary gentlemen, some from the best families. It was funny then, but now, well, those girls were suckers. I take the exclusive gents for all they've got and give nothing. That's how I made good in Hollywood. $1,000 a month good. I just take a little walk. I've got uniforms for all the best schools, and I still have my baby face. So help me, lots of those kids look older than I do. When school lets out, I let some old wolf pick me up. They always want to park up in the hills or some lonely place. I drop my compact, he bends over to pick it up, and I let him have it with a special little blackjack I carry. And then I leave, taking their wallets and any letter I find. You'd be surprised at some of the letters some of them do have. Makes a dandy bank balance now and then. Them? Remember, I picked them old enough to have families, dignified jobs. Would they want to admit to chasing Bobby Soxers? They never squawk. My landlady thinks I'm the perfect tenant.
Oh, she's no trouble at all, the poor little thing. Infantile, you know, has to take long walks every day and rest the rest of the time. Never going on any dates like other pretty girls. Well, lucky she can afford it, I say. Be a county ward otherwise. And so sweet and quiet, uncomplaining poor little soul.
Yes, Miss Tilford is a swell character witness. Of course, I always wear a coat over the uniforms near home and keep them locked up in case she snoops. Yes, I've got a nice career here in Hollywood. That is, I did have until last month.
You going out in this cold, Isabel?
Oh, it's a good heavy coat.
Well, don't you overdo now.
These walks are just what the doctor ordered.
Anyway, you sure look healthy enough.
Thank heaven for that. Anything I can pick up for you on my way back?
Oh, no thanks, dearie. I got everything done. Bye now.
Bye. I was dressed for Miss Caldweller's school this time, and it was just letting out when I got there. I didn't have to wait long. You know, you get so you can tell by the way the cars move if the guy is on the prowl. This one was driving a big black coupe. He was a little younger than I liked, about 40, but you can't be too fussy. I stepped off the curb looking for a bus.
Waiting for a bus?
Why, yes, I am.
Which one?
The Bel Air bus?
Oh, I say, that's a shame.
Why?
I just passed it back there. Broken axle.
Oh,
You know I've seen you passing my house. What street do you live on?
Cameron.
Oh, sure, I'm just over on Bender. Hop in. I'll take you home.
Oh, well, I guess you're a neighbor. I guess it's... Gee, thanks, Mr.
Rice. Alex Rice. Insurance.
How do you do?
You like school?
I hate it. School's no fun. I like...
What?
excitement, danger. I suppose you think I'm pretty silly, huh?
No, I think you're the kind of girl who'd get excitement and danger.
Really?
Yes, really. Look, it's so early yet. Like to take the long way through the hills? It's pretty there now.
Oh, yes, I'd love to. I think the hills are divine. Isn't it just out of this world?
Yes, indeed. What's the initial on your bag for?
The initial?
Yeah, Irma? Inez. Ingeborg.
Oh, Ingeborg, you made that up.
No, it's Swedish. Imogene.
No, Irene. Irene Taylor.
A pretty name for a pretty girl.
Oh, I bet.
You have beautiful hair and eyes and a beautiful throat.
Well, throat?
Irene, you're very...
Oh, Mr. Rice, I dropped my compact.
You don't need it.
But I want it. I might get stepped on.
You won't need it.
But I want it now.
Oh, I know. I'll kneel, so here, I'll get it for you.
Character, huh? Well, here, roll over. There. Well, what do you know? Rope. Now, why would a guy carry a piece of rope inside his breast pocket? Nice wallet. Goodbye, Mr. Rice, and thanks for everything. Back home, I showered and changed and settled down to see what was in the wallet worth keeping. Only $50. What made it so thick were all the newspaper clippings. Oh no, it couldn't be, but it was. Those clippings were all about the strangler, who'd murdered 5 girls in the last year and left them up in the hills with a piece of rope around their necks and never a clue. And Alexander Rice carried his press notices. Alexander Rice carried a little piece of rope inside his breast pocket, picked up girls, drove into the hills. Alexander Rice wasn't his name. No, his driver's license said Benjamin Carney. I had picked up and slugged the strangler. My latest sucker was the most dangerous man in the country. At first, I just shivered out of my narrow escape. Why, if I hadn't been out to get him, he'd have gotten me. I'd have been number 6 in tomorrow's headlines. And suddenly I realized I was the only one who could identify him. I can't be silent and let him go on killing. I've got to go to the police station and tell them. I started to go out when it occurred to me that I couldn't. I didn't dare go to the police and take a chance of exposing my own racket. If it ever came out, and it probably would, San Quentin, here I come. Seemed they're a little stuffy about people who carry blackjacks and steal wallets and sell letters. So instead, I took a walk, a real one this time, and tried to think. Pretty soon, another thought hit me. He knew I could identify him by now. The strangler was no fool. He'd have me figured out and know what kind of place and time to look for me. He'd certainly be looking for me. To kill me? To shut my mouth forever? I'd have to find a way to...
City Desk, Thompson.
I know who the strangler is.
Who's this?
I can't tell you.
Oh, I see. Well, what can you tell me? You know his name?
Benjamin Carney.
Connie?
Carney, 1156 A Bordell Street.
Yeah. Description?
About 40, 5'9" or 10, 160 pounds, dark hair, eyes, skin, even features, not ugly, not handsome, drives a big black coupe, late model.
Got it. Any identifying marks? Mustache?
No, nothing.
And how do you know this guy's the strangler?
I just know. Goodbye.
Hey, wait a minute.
So you can trace the call? There'd been 100 phoning clues, and he thought mine was another. But surely they'd check the name and address. All the way home, I had a creepy feeling he was around somewhere following me, waiting. That evening, the newspaper barely mentioned my call, just listed it among several others. Radio wasn't much better.
An unidentified woman phoned in a description of the killer as a 40-year-old brunette, medium height and weight with no distinguishing features, driving a new black coupe. Police checks reveal that such a man with the name she gave had moved from the address given several months before the first Strangler murders, but there is no further trace of him. The investigation continues, but it is believed this is another spite accusation. A Portland, Oregon woman reported the Strangler as the man who entered her hen house last night, and...
No use phoning again. I didn't think a letter would help much either, but I tried. Being careful, it couldn't be traced back to me. I mailed the newspaper that night.
Hey, Mike. Mike, you going to the courthouse? Take this to O'Shea, will you? Another strangler letter telling all. Why can't he just strangle letter writers? One more of these and I'll strangle somebody.
Another failure. The letter wasn't even printed. I was getting jumpy from being cooped up like a prisoner. What if he couldn't find me as long as I stayed home? I was losing money every day I didn't pull my act. I could leave town, but why give up such a good thing or my perfect setup? I'd been doing fine. In another year, I could quit the racket, make friends, invest my money, maybe even get married. But now this had happened. I'd never be safe, not as long as we both lived. I finally faced it. I had to find him and kill him. This time I put an ad in the personals column. Would he see it? I'd run it till he did. A.K. Rice can book your rope act for mutual profit.
Have immediate out-of-town engagement, signed Slugger. Rope act. Mutual profit, huh?
I knew that'd get him, because it sounded like blackmail. And by pretending to fall for a shakedown, he'd hoped to get close enough to kill me. Only it was going to be the other way around. So our strange correspondence began. He answered right away.
Slugger, interested in offer.
Offered.
Send details, box 047.
M29 Rice. I had him hooked. I didn't lose any time writing. Dear Mr. Rice, I have an invention which I think you'll want for your rope act.
It's expensive, but remember it's completely silent, and yours exclusively if we agree on terms, signed Slugger. Completely silent. Delicious and expensive. Yes, indeed. Slugger, give price and details of contract.
Rice. So close now, I couldn't afford a single mistake. Dear Mr. Rice, 5,000 cash buys complete assortment
of paper and leather goods. Time and place of meeting must be my choice, but decide fast. I must leave town immediately. Signed, Slugger. P.S. You should never have left that snapshot in your wallet. It's awfully good of you. Snapshot? Oh no, I didn't burn it. So the little lady's in a jam, needs money to hide out, and I can help her make her getaway, huh? Oh, I can indeed. Slugger, price okay. We'll close at your convenience.
Rice. I'd got him. My plan was foolproof. I packed a suitcase with the kind of clothes I'd hate being found dead in, and maybe I would be. I told Miss Tilford I was going on vacation with friends.
Oh, I'm so glad, dearie. I said to Miss Knight yesterday that child should have country air. City air just don't do the same for you.
Yes, I know it'll be good for me.
And you stay longer if they ask you. Don't worry about me holding the apartment for you.
Well, thanks a lot, Miss Tilford. It certainly is nice of you. I have to catch a train now. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Have a nice time now.
I took those awful clothes to the bus depot, changed, washed, and let the soap dry on my face till it was white, shiny, and 10 years older. With my hair skinned back with a barrette, I saw a stranger in the mirror. Baby face was gone. Good. No one noticed me, and no one probably would. I walked to another apartment that I'd rented by phone last week. It was in a dingy neighborhood. I'm Miss Sprout.
Oh, Miss Sprout, you can move right in. The people left yesterday. Here, this is the key. It's the first door at the head of the stairs.
Fine, I'll go right up.
It ain't clean yet. Them stairs bother me so.
I'd really rather do it myself, thanks.
Well, I'll just leave you alone then.
Now I was Miss Ann Sprout, librarian. I looked as much like Isabel Town's baby face as an alley cat looks like a Persian. I sat down to write the last letter. Dear Mr. Rice, come to 609 Fitzgilbert Place by 10 p.m. and don't
try to come near me or I'll scream my head off. Tap 5 times, come in and stand right by the door while we make sure neither of us is double-crossing the other. Have the money in an unsealed envelope. I want that traveling money, but I would rather take a chance on the cops than you, so follow instructions. Slugger. You fool. You baby-faced fool.
He'd have to make sure the layout was right before he dared attack me. And the more precautions I took, the more he believed I was on the level. Near the door where he'd stand, I put a chest with a lamp on it. That was my booby trap, that lamp. The room was so dimly lit, he'd have to light the lamp to see the wallet. And when he pulled the light chain, he'd shoot himself. I had a gun fixed where the bulb should be, and the chain pulled the trigger. It was going to get him in the chest. Hard if I was lucky. Dead or not, I'd leave him there for the cops with his wallet and clippings. Pretty cute, huh? I'd skip out the back way with all that beautiful money, go to the depot, and become Isabel Towns again, safe and free. I wore gloves all the time I was there, and the suitcase with Isabel Town's identity was ready by the back door. The hours passed like centuries. The old house creaked like a sick old man in a squeaky bed. Of course, it might be the house, or it might be someone on the stairs. And then it was 10 o'clock. I was standing at the other end of the room, facing the door. The light was very dim. I heard the feet coming up the stairs. Or was it just the creaking of the house? No.
Good evening, Slugger. You see, I'm prompt, Slugger.
Stand where you are.
There's a lady.
Did you bring the money?
Yes, indeed. Here in this envelope.
Throw it down in the middle of the room between us. Go ahead, throw it down. It'll stay there till you examine the leather goods.
Do you have the wallet, dear?
Yes, throw the money. I can't reach it from here, you know. It's quite safe.
All right. There. The wallet, where is it?
On the chest beside you, by the lamp.
Oh, yes. Well, thanks, Slugger.
Aren't you going to look to see if everything's there?
Why should I? I trust you. So long, babyface. See you around.
He'd gotten away, alive. He must have guessed I'd done something to the lamp, so he was still alive and still dangerous. But at least I had the money, the $5,000. I picked up the envelope and opened it. There was nothing in there but newspaper clippings the size of bills. Oh, why, that dirty cheat! I ran to the door and opened it and looked out, and he wasn't in sight. Maybe I could catch him before he got out of the house. Oh, he won't get away with this. I stepped out in the hall, and before I could turn, I felt the rope go around my neck. His hands pulling tight.
Baby, I told you I'd see you around. Didn't I? There you are, baby. You're all paid off in full. Now we'll just go back inside. Let's see. I guess you'll be safe on the floor while we finish our business. Now I'll take a look at that wallet, baby. You might have held out on some of those clippings. I'll just turn on this light.
And so, Titans, a little piece of rope. Tonight's first tale of Suspense.
The Fantastic Players Theater Company season is almost over.
Our seasoned end brings us the rollicking dancing comedy Stepping Out. Hey, I'm kind of sad that this season is over.
But wait, look at this brochure. The Owen just announced its new season.
What? Tell me what's coming up for the rest of 2015.
Let's see. Such classics as Bye Bye Birdie and Moon Over Buffalo this fall, and Meet Me in St. Louis for the holidays.
Oh, let me see that. Wow! 2016 brings us the hilarious Murder at the Howard Johnsons, as well as William Shakespeare's timeless tale Romeo and Juliet, the unparalleled smash musical Chicago, and the riveting Agatha Christie classic The Mousetrap.
For more information on discount season tickets, go to owenstheater.com. That's OWENTHEATRE.com.
Be sure to join us as the hits keep coming at the Owen Theater.
Suspense. The thrill of the nighttime, the hushed voice and the prowling step, the stir of nerves at the ticking of the clock, the rescue that might be too late, the crime that is almost committed, mystery, intrigue, and dangerous adventure. We invite you to enjoy stories that keep you in suspense. Can a man stake his life against $20,000? Can another and cleverer man track him down like a hunter, stalking his prey and killing him within 5 hours? Can you make a bet with death and win? Coney Island on a summer day. There's the beach, bright-colored with bathing suits. There's the boardwalk, all straw hats and summer dresses. There's the Ferris wheel and the roller coasters. There is all humanity eating hot dogs and having a good time. And over there, beyond that souvenir shop, is the haunted mill. You get into a little boat. You float through a narrow tunnel into the dark while witches scream. But that fools nobody, does it? There couldn't be any real terror, could there? While the bands are playing and the crowd goes by and...
Why, yes, ladies and gentlemen, a unique attraction. It hurts me to see you stand there and miss this. Only 10 cents, 1 dime, the 10th part of $1 to go through the old haunted mill and get the thrill of your lives.
An overstatement if you ask me. 1 ticket, please.
Did you say 1 ticket, lady?
That's right, 1 ticket. What's the thrill?
Beg pardon, lady?
I said, what's the thrill?
Lady, the gals who come here with their boyfriend don't have to ask that. 10 cents, please. This way, and mind the gate.
Thank you.
Step right up, ladies and gentlemen. Get your ticket for the old haunted mill, where ghosts will
Give me some
walk
tickets, hurry.
Well, now, hold on just a minute there, young fella. I know you want to get to the old haunted mill, but there's plenty of time. How many tickets?
I don't know. Better give me 10.
10 tickets? Did you hear that, ladies and gentlemen? Here's a young fella who wants 10 tickets to go see the old haunted mill.
Don't call everybody's attention. Listen, I got a better idea. Whatever boat comes after mine,
Yeah?
I'll give you an extra $1 to send that boat through empty.
What's the matter, son? The cops ain't after you, are they?
No, it's nothing like that. Will you do it?
Well, money talks, young fella. Okay, go ahead.
Isn't there an empty boat here?
Well, really, you've got such a great objection to riding in the same boat with me.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean that at all. Don't misunderstand.
Then you'd better get in if you want to go. This boat's starting to move.
Yeah, I better sit down.
You certainly had.
Look, here, I want to apologize.
That's quite unnecessary. This place is rather childish anyway, isn't it?
Yes, isn't it?
But I've seen everything else, so I might as well see this. Here we go into the dark. For heaven's sake.
What was that?
One of those ghosts, I imagine, from a machine.
It sounded like him laughing. There isn't anybody in the boat behind us, is there?
Well, I can't see. It's pitch black.
Listen, miss.
My name is Andrews. Betty Andrews, if it's customary to exchange names in a place like this.
Mine's Pendrell. Bob Pendrell.
Did you say Pendrell?
Yes. Do you know it?
No, not exactly. It's an unusual name, that's all.
I don't want you to think I'm out of my mind, though I very nearly am. But I've got 5 hours to go. Just 5 hours. At the end of that time, either I'll have won $25,000 or else...
Or else?
Or else I'll be dead.
You know, I'd wish I'd kept you away from this boat.
There's nothing to get alarmed about, for you. I can't tell you much, but I had to tell somebody that, or I'd have started yelling. There's just one other thing.
Oh, there's just one other thing.
In these places, they've usually got little dimmed lighted rooms along the way, exhibits.
Yeah, ghosts and things.
Yes, well, when we come to one, I'm going to get out of this boat and hide there. Just don't get alarmed, and don't tell anybody when you go out.
Why should you do that?
I think I see a light ahead.
There is a light, but...
Dim, too. That's all but the good. Yes, we're coming around the corner. Look, I'm going to have company when I get off. A wax dead man on a pile of straw. Oh, I hope I can stand those noises. Goodbye, Betty Andrews. I wish we'd have met at a different time.
Mind the boat.
Here, what are you doing?
Getting out, too.
Don't be an idiot. What's the idea?
You need looking after, Mr. Pendrell, and if we must hide, I suppose this is as good a place as any.
I won't have it.
Quick, there'll be more boats coming along. Behind the dead man on the straw. He'll hide us. Hurry. And now, Mr. Pendrell, in the queerest place I've ever got into, please tell me what this is all about.
I can't tell you.
You said it yourself. If you don't tell somebody, you'll go crazy.
Maybe you're right. It's against the strict terms of the bet. But this is the last day, and I tell you, can't hold out any longer. I wonder if you ever heard of my stepfather, John Destry.
Yes?
I imagine everybody has. He's a millionaire, and I'm not. I'm just a chemist, an analytical chemist. Not very successful. True, if I'd had time, if I'd had money, I might have worked out a process that would have... Well, I think it would have helped in the war.
But he's got money.
Yes, he's got money. Well, my mother died years ago. This Destry's a big, white-haired, fine-looking fellow. You'd think butter wouldn't melt in his mouth. He's got an apartment in the East 60s. Secretary, though I never met her. Valet, cook, that kind of thing. Well, he used to invite me there. I wouldn't go. Then he got hold of a book I had to have, a German work on chemicals. So I went. After dinner, in that study of his, over the brandy...
Oh, my dear Robert, you're quite welcome to the book. Don't mention it. Oh, what do you think of the brandy, by the way?
It's excellent, thanks.
Yes, I thought you'd like it. Now that we're all relaxed, comfortable after dinner, tell me something.
Yes, Mr. Destry.
You hate me, don't you?
Frankly, I do. Always have.
Oh, good. Then you'll believe to hear that I've always felt the same about you. But tell me something else. Did you ever know me to break my word?
No, I never did, I'll give you that.
I ask you, Robert, because I want to make a little bet with you. That is, if you have the nerve, which I doubt.
Well, I'm afraid I can't afford to make bets.
Oh, you always were careless with money, Robert. Well, I've been thrifty. I saw that when your mother was alive. But you can afford to make this bet. Look here, in my desk.
Well?
$25,000, Robert. $25,000 in 250 $100 bills.
And what would I have to bet against that?
Your life.
What? My life?
There's the money in the drawer. Look at it. What wouldn't you give for that money? What wouldn't you give to have this precious work of yours so you're so fond of her? And that you've failed in miserably.
So far, I've failed, yes.
Oh, I've had a fairly good life as lives go. My heart isn't as good as it might be, but the doctors say I'll last a little while yet. But before I go, there's one pleasure, one little exquisite thrill for me to experience. I want to commit a murder. Yes, I said a murder. My bet is that I can kill you within 6 months and that you cannot stop me and that I'll never be punished for it. What do you say? Yes or no?
I believe you mean that.
Of course I mean it.
And just how would you propose to kill me?
Aha, that would be telling.
You know, if I had time to think this thing over...
There's no thinking it over. Now, yes or no?
Yes.
You must need the money badly, Robert.
I do need it, but oddly enough, Mr. Destry, that isn't why I'm doing this.
No?
No, I want to show you you can't play the Lord Almighty and get away with it.
Are you challenging me?
Yes.
You don't think I can do it?
I know you can't.
We mustn't get excited, Robert. There will be conditions to the bet, you understand?
What conditions?
First of all, you'll never mention this to anyone.
All right, that seems fair enough.
You'll remain in the city limits of New York for 6 months. You'll spend at least 1 hour of every day walking in the open streets alone.
All right.
You'll spend at least 1 hour every evening in your own room, alone. I may come to see you. I may not.
Trying to scare me already, are you?
Finally, you're to write out a little note and give it to me. There's a pen and paper on the desk in front of you. Write it now.
Let's hear what I have to write before I do anything like that.
You will write, I am a failure.
You can't stop harping on that, can you?
I am a failure, and this was the only way out. I wouldn't have done it otherwise.
A suicide note?
Yes. I intend to use it when, operate.
And if I won't write it?
Oh, then there's no bet.
All right, I'll do it.
It is now, let's see, 9 o'clock on the night of January the 10th. If you're alive and not in a madhouse...
Does that go into the bargain too?
Yes. At 9 o'clock on the night of June 10th, given those conditions, you will receive $25,000. Can't you hear the dice rattle, Robert? You're playing with death now.
I know it.
Aren't you going to finish your brandy?
No, thank you.
Oh, then. Let's pour it back into the decanter. You heard me. Pour it back into the decanter. If you were as careful as I am, you wouldn't be where you are now. That's right. Always be thrifty. By the way, I can promise you'll always be perfectly safe as long as you are in this apartment. But that's the only concession I'll make. I notice your hands are steady at the moment. I wonder what they'd be like a month from now.
So you were fool enough to make a bet with John Destry?
Listen, Betty, I want to tell you what else happened that same night. I got on a Fifth Avenue bus and started to look through that old book Destry gave me. It was a book I wanted about poisons. Well, just as I opened it, I felt something sharp prick my fingers. I looked down, and my hands were covered in blood. He had sewn safety razor blades in a line down the side into the cover.
Oh, no.
Yeah, a little white card fell out of the book, and I read it. It said, "See how easy it is for me to take you off guard. Those razor blades aren't poisoned, but they might have been. Take warning." Betty, that was 6 months ago. 6 months less 5 hours of careful, refined torture. And now I've only got 5 hours to go.
What's he done in the meantime?
Nothing.
Nothing, I don't understand.
Nothing at all. That's the cleverness of it. He's left me waiting.
Expecting something.
Expecting it every hour of the day or night. Once at the laboratory where I work, I opened a box I thought was from a chemical supply house, and a Mexican tarantula, one of those furry spiders about as big as your fist, ran across my hand.
Oh, no.
It was a toy tarantula. He enclosed a card asking whether I didn't admire it.
Bob, this can't go on.
I used to think I didn't have a nerve in my body. I could hold a test tube at arm's length, absolutely steady for minutes at a time. Now look at me.
Don't. Please don't.
But the waiting's almost over now. Walking the streets, wondering who's behind you. Sitting alone at night, listening for every step on the stair. He's got very little time left now. He's got to do something. The question is, what's he going to do?
Well, maybe he doesn't mean it. Maybe he's only doing this to scare you.
And lose all that money? Oh, you don't know my stepfather.
Listen.
What? I don't hear anything.
That's just it. There's no sound of running water. The boats have stopped.
Then we're all by ourselves in here. Or with him.
Yes.
Oh, Lord, how I wish I hadn't gotten you into this.
Oh, I'm all right. At least I think I am.
I thought I saw him in the crowd outside, but I couldn't be sure. I'm seeing him everywhere.
Now, Bob, just a minute. Just tell me one more thing. Did you ever see Mr. Destry, face to face, after the first night?
Oh, many times.
He came to see you?
He came to my laboratory once, yes. But mostly I went to see him. And why? Because it was the only place in the world I could feel safe.
He promised that nothing would happen as long as you were in his apartment.
Don't you see, that was part of the torture. Night after night, he'd invite me, and I'd go. Right up until last night. Last night we were in that study of his, with the devil masks on the walls, and he was sitting behind the big mahogany desk.
Oh, my dear Robert, I am pleased and even touched to have you here on this last night before you...
Why don't you say die and get it over with?
Oh, well, let's not say die.
No.
The clergy contend that we never die, we only change. And now that'll be a consolation for you. Must you be going so early?
There's that 1 hour at home rule to our bet, if you remember.
I remember. You're keeping to the rules.
Yes, and I mean to beat you at this if it's the last thing I ever do.
The last thing I ever do. An unfortunate choice of phrase, Robert. My boy, you haven't a chance. Something's going to happen to you within the next 24 hours when you least expect it.
Will you answer me one question?
If I choose.
Have you decided how you mean to kill me?
I decided that 6 months ago.
And you still think you can get away with it?
It's a method which has never been known to fail. I'll give you my word of honor on that.
Is it sudden?
Yes, and no. Wouldn't you like to know what it is?
Good night, Mr. Destry. I think I'd better be leaving.
No, my dear boy, you mustn't go yet. Sit down and pour yourself a glass of brandy.
No, thanks.
Then perhaps you wouldn't mind pouring me a little. My doctor allows brandy, though I am forbidden spirits. I notice your hands are shaking quite a good deal. They weren't like that 6 months ago, were they? No, you were full of confidence then.
I still am.
And it grieves me to see you're wasting tobacco by lighting a cigarette and putting it out immediately.
Well, it's no use pretending, but I'm going to beat you just the same.
Wouldn't you like to back out now?
After what I've been through?
You still have your life.
I'll keep it, thanks.
That's very unwise of you, Robert. Still, you must decide. Oh, I was expecting my secretary a little later to dictate some letters, but now I think I'll leave her a message that I've gone to bed. Tomorrow is likely to prove an interesting day for both of us. Here's your hat, here's your briefcase, and let me wish you a fond, peaceful, and happy good night.
That was last night, Betty. I still have 5 hours to go.
It's less than 4 now.
If I can keep away from the old devil until 9 o'clock.
I wish those boats would start running again.
Why?
Because it's almost spooky in here as it is in the real old mill.
I know.
Even that wax dummy on the straw. Any minute now,
You're expecting to see him move? So am I.
No, don't stand up.
It doesn't matter. If the boats aren't running, we can hear anybody who comes along.
I hope so.
Do you think Destry's got in?
Bob, he can't have got in. He can't even be here.
Why not?
Because Mr. Destry told me.
Mr. Destry told you?
I'm his secretary.
You know, Betty Andrews, I'm sorry it was you who did that.
Did what?
You can't guess, can you?
Oh, Bob, I don't think I came here to trap you or spy on you, or that's what you're thinking. I swear I didn't.
No, you only got me to tell the whole story and lose my bet.
I haven't heard a single word you said. Bob, please believe that.
He didn't send you here, of course.
No.
And you, of course, never saw me at his apartment last night.
No, I swear I didn't. I got there late. He'd gone to bed. I didn't even take off my hat and gloves before I left again. Don't you understand, Bob? I hate him too. I want to see you beat him. You've got to beat him.
You mean that?
Look at me and see if I mean it.
Betty, I almost believe you.
You must believe me, and
Anything else?
you'd better hide behind the dead man. Hurry. The boats have started up again.
I wish I could tell you, Betty, what that means to me.
Come on, hurry.
Hey, you two, stay where you are.
Who's that? Where's that voice coming from?
Along the tunnel, I think.
But it's not Destry's voice.
No, it's a man standing on a boat. He's coming around the corner. I can see him now. Hurry.
The old haunted mill, eh? By golly, if that ain't some place to make a pinch if I ever heard of one.
What do you mean, make a pinch?
Just what I said. Your name's Robert Pendrell?
Yes. Who are you? What do you want?
Police headquarters. You coming with me. They want to see you over at the yard.
About what?
Wouldn't know, lady, but it might have to do with the murder of John Destry.
Oh, no.
Did you say the murder of John Destry?
That's right. Somebody poisoned him last night with mercury cyanide. I wouldn't have got you at all if it hadn't been for that barker outside thought the cops were after you to start with.
Betty,
Yes, Bob?
he's beaten me.
He hasn't beaten you.
Oh, yes, he has. And I know now the weapon Destry's going to use in killing me.
What weapon?
It never fails. The electric chair.
You mustn't talk like that.
Don't you see? He never once intended to kill me in the way I thought.
Are you coming quietly, Mr. Pendrell?
Just a minute.
He's poisoned himself, but he's left evidence to show I did it. He's killing me the worst way possible. He's won the bet. The money doesn't matter now. If I'm in the death house for murder, what use have I got all the money in the world?
Mr. Pendrell, let me introduce myself. My name is Mullen, Inspector Mullen.
It's a pleasure to meet you, Inspector. It's a pleasure to be safe again.
I've had you brought here to my office for a little quiet talk. You're in a jam, son. I want you to realize how bad it is.
You think I don't realize it?
John Destry was poisoned with mercury cyanide administered in a glass of brandy.
And only my fingerprints were on the glass besides his own. I can guess.
Mr. Destry's body was found this morning lying behind the desk in the study. There was an empty glass with traces of brandy and cyanide. Now, we haven't had the full autopsy report, but the smell of that stuff is pretty distinctive. They tell me you're a chemist, Mr. Pendrell.
That's right.
The boys find that 8 grains of mercury cyanide are missing from your laboratory.
Where he visited me a month ago.
And in your briefcase, which you took away from his apartment last night...
He handed it to me. I remember.
We found over $1,000 in cash. Now take a look at this note. You ever see it before?
Yes, I wrote it.
You admit that?
Yes.
It says, I'm a failure and this was the only way out. I wouldn't have done it otherwise.
Where did you find it?
Torn up in little bits. You started to write a confession, and then you couldn't face the consequences. But you shouldn't have left the pieces behind. You're in for it, my boy. Unless...
Unless what?
Now, if you'd like to confess here and now, and maybe we did a little deal about second-degree murder...
Oh, Inspector, why bother to string me along?
How do you mean, string you along?
There's no second-degree murder on a poison charge. It's the death house or nothing. He saw to that.
It's too bad you had to go and kill him, son. Didn't you know he had an aneurysm?
A what?
A fatal heart disease.
He said he had heart trouble, but...
Heart trouble? His doctor says he couldn't have lived 8 to 10 months anyway. And you might have gotten something in the will.
So that's why he did it.
Did what?
Killed himself.
You still stick to that crazy story you told the boys.
He's going to kill me, isn't he? With 3,000 volts of electricity.
Inspector Mullen?
What are you doing here, Sergeant? Didn't I say I wasn't to be disturbed?
All the same, Inspector, I thought I'd better do it. There's a young lady here, a Miss Betty Andrews. I think you better see her.
I'll see her when I'm good and ready.
But I think you'd better see her, Inspector. We've just heard from Mr. Destry's lawyer.
Well?
He said that this young fella here, Mr. Pendrell, inherits $25,000 in Mr. Destry's new will.
Did you hear that, son? Do you see what you would have gotten if you hadn't gone and killed him?
He was keeping his promise, that's all. And a fine lot of good it'll do me now.
But look, Inspector, I just talked to the medical examiner. He said there's no poison in Mr. Destry's body.
Say that again?
There's no poison in the old man's body.
Somebody's kidding you. An empty glass with the smell of mercury cyanide and a dead man with a congested face behind the mask. What did kill him then?
Well, if you'd like to listen to Miss Andrews, Inspector, she's here right now.
I think you'd better listen, Inspector. I've been trying to tell you all afternoon.
Go ahead, Miss Andrews.
I've been over and over it till they got the medical report. No one would listen to me.
Can you tell us what killed John Destry?
Yes, poison killed him.
But that sergeant's just been saying there was no poison in the body.
Inspector, will you listen? I was at Mr. Destry's apartment late last night.
Well, so what? You didn't kill him, did you?
The servant said he'd gone to bed, so I looked in the study to see if there were any instructions.
Was Mr. Destry dead then?
I don't know. I couldn't see his body because it was hidden behind the desk. I didn't even learn he was dead until late this afternoon. But I did see a full glass of brandy.
A full glass, did you say?
Yes, so I picked up the glass and poured it back into the decanter. He always made us do that. And I didn't leave any fingerprints because I was still wearing my gloves. And that's why that was the same glass that you later found empty.
But you still are not telling us what was the poison that killed John Destry.
It was a poison in his own system. He'd worked out this plot to convict Bob Pendrell, only just as he stretched out his hand to drink the cyanide...
Inspector, I think I see it. It was his last great hour. He couldn't resist such gloating as he'd never known before.
That's it. His heart couldn't take it, and he fell dead behind the desk. I think if you study the expression on his face, you'll find he died laughing.
And so ends Will You Make a Bet with Death? Tonight's closing tale of Suspense. Thank you for joining us during this bone-chilling episode of the Players Theater Company Old Time Radio Hour right here in the Owen Theater. Special thanks go to director Sue McClelland Hayes and the cast and crew of Stepping Out for letting us borrow their stage tonight. This dancing comedy closes next weekend, but there are still a few tickets available for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday through July 26th. More details on tickets and our upcoming Players Theater Company season can be found at owentheater.com. Tonight's technical credits go to Dick Schisler as sound engineer, who also acted as producer for Lone Star Internet Radio. Our sound effects were performed live and from scratch without the use of recordings by Eric Watts, Jeff Evans, Bob Galley, and Kim Wood Graham. Commercial announcers were Kim Wood Graham and Thomas Diener. And tonight's episode was directed by Adam Morrow, with music improvised by Laurie Shones. Series producer on behalf of the Players Theater Company was Timothy Eggert. The Players Theater Company Old Time Radio Hour was created by Craig Campobella and Dick Schisler, exclusively for the Players Theater Company. This episode of the Players Theater Company Old Time Radio Hour was performed live in the Owen Theater in partnership with Lone Star Internet Radio in Conroe, Texas, on July 19th, 2015, and was recorded for encore broadcasts. Visit irlonestar.com every month for freshly archived programs like Gunsmoke, now available on demand for your listening pleasure. Thank you so very much for joining us during our season finale. Stay tuned at www.irlonestar.com for upcoming information regarding the return of the Players Theater Company Old Time Radio Hour for a brand new season this fall. From the glittering arts and entertainment district of downtown Conroe, Texas, and in the words of the sinister Mr. John Destry,
Here's your briefcase. Here's your hat. And let me wish you a fond, peaceful, and happy good night.
Thanks for listening to Lone Star Radio Hour here on Lone Star Community Radio. Don't forget, the Lone Star Radio Hour airs every Sunday at 7 p.m. on irlonestar.com and Conroe's FM 104.5, 106.1. If you want to join and be part of the Lone Star Radio Hour with your own radio play, contact us today at lscrstudios at gmail.com. We are also looking for support for this time slot, so if you're interested in sponsoring this time slot, contact us again at lscrstudios at gmail.com. And don't forget, this radio play was brought to you by the Players Theater Company in Conroe, Texas. For more information about the Players, please check them out online at owentheater.com/players.